everyone and Happy New Year! I am back today with another crafting video for you all. So this time I decided to try out making stained glass. I love the look of stained glass, especially the Tiffany lamps. I think one day I would eventually like to make my own Tiffany lamps because the store-bought ones can be pretty expensive. But in order to test it out and see how I did with it, I decided to get a stained glass kit from Hobby Lobby. I actually got the kit over a year ago and just got around to making it now, but here is the final product. So I'm going to show you all how I made this. It'll kind of sort of be a tutorial for people who are new to stained glass, but more so what not to do. So you can definitely learn from my mistakes in this video. There are plenty of other videos out there from people who have been doing this for a long time, so by all means check out their videos. So without further ado, enjoy the video. I chose the Moon and Star stained glass kit because I love moon and stars. I'll show you what it comes with. We have a paintbrush for the flux, the chain and jump rings to hang it, the burnisher for pressing down the foil, the copper foil, the pattern for laying out the glass pieces, instructions, solder, the flux, and your pre-cut glass pieces. So after I washed off the pieces to remove any dust, I tested laying them out just to see how they would fit next to each other. Then I laid out a bit of the copper foil and removed the adhesive. You put this around the entire edge of the glass pieces, placing it right in the middle of the foil, and then wrapping it around the entire edge and over the top of the glass. You have to do this because the solder will not stick well to the glass on its own. Then just overlap the edges of the foil slightly and cut it. Then take your burnisher and smooth down the edges of the foil around the glass so it is laying completely flat. Repeat this on every piece. When you are wrapping these pieces with the foil, make sure the ends of the foil are even, because if the ends of the foil are not flush, you will see these little angled pieces jutting out when you go to solder it. Once this was done, I again placed them out where they went according to the pattern. The star was the hardest part because the pieces weren't cut evenly, which means I have to put more solder in between the joints. In accordance with the instructions, I put some pins around the pieces to hold them in place while I solder them. Then I added a generous amount of flux to all the edges that touch with the paintbrush. Flux is an almost gel-like substance that helps the solder to flow easily and helps it to form a strong bond. I did a quick bit of solder to the joints just to hold the pieces in place. Then I went over each joint with a line of solder. I was very shaky when I first started it because I was trying to be so careful, but you can always go back later and reheat the solder to reshape it. That's what I'm doing here, just going over the lines to smooth them out. Now, just some safety advice if you attempt this at home. Solder and soldering irons are extremely hot. I did a test strip of the solder before actually starting on the glass, and it hardened for a few minutes, but I didn't know it stays hot for that long. I accidentally put my arm down and got a nice burn, so let that solder cool completely before touching it. I used safety gloves, which I would strongly recommend, especially heat-resistant ones. I also recommend safety glasses if you plan on cutting the glass yourself. Now, if you're using a lead solder, and as we know lead can be dangerous, and because the flux also smells pretty bad, it's best practice to have good ventilation where you're doing the stained glass work. Once all the joints are soldered on the moon and star, I tin the edges, which is just applying a thin layer of solder to the outside. This part was tricky because if too much solder got underneath, I would get these bumps on the underside, which I would have to go back and smooth them out. After the star and moon were completely done, it was time to attach the jump rings. These were a real pain in the neck because they move so easily and they had to be done neatly. Note to self for next time, use your dang pins. After the jump rings were on and the piece had set for several hours, I washed off the flux with some Dawn soap. Now, something I noticed as I was washing it was that the lighter colored glass pieces distorted and were wavy. I have no idea if it came like this and I didn't notice, or if I caused it by overheating when soldering. So if anyone in the comments can let me know if I did something wrong, please do. The last step is adding on the chain to the piece. I found it easier to keep the opening of the jump ring out of the solder, so you can just open up that ring and then slip the chain on. But if you are worried about the jump ring opening over time and choose to solder it closed, have fun with the chain links. And here it is, all nice and completed. So it's not perfect, the edges are a bit bumpy, but I think for my first time it came out pretty good. I also decided to keep the solder silver instead of turning it black like you typically see. I think the silver works better with the celestial theme anyway. But, you know, maybe I've inspired some of you to give this a try yourself. Just make sure you follow the safety tips if you do. Well, I hope you all enjoyed today's video. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.